So in our last session, we have seen what is event in AngularJS. So in this session, we have seen what is events in details. So let's check what is $emit and how it works. So $emit, in order to use $emit, what do we need to do is that in our controller we define that $emit, and it has some syntax. We will see in program that how to do that. So what it basically does that whenever you use $emit, you write some variable inside that function, and that variable is used, or you could say we are raising some events by using $emit. And by using $emit, when we raise some event, we have that name for that event, and that name we will use in our $on. So whenever we want to handle that event, there we will use $on. So that name should be same, that in our $emit we are writing something like track order, and in our $on that should be same like track order. So whenever this will be same, it will handle that event automatically, and it will do work accordingly. So $emit basically follows bottom to top approach. Means that whenever you are in controller A, and inside you have controller B, and you are raising that event by $emit in controller B, and again you are in controller, there is a controller inside controller B, that is, let's say that is C. So my sequence would be controller A, controller B, and controller C, and right now I am in controller B, in middle controller, and there I am raising an event by using $emit. So whenever I am using that $emit, how does it work? It starts from scope of that controller. Means in that B controller it has $emit, and it starts checking for the event where not inside C controller but above the B controller, that is its parent, its immediate parent, that is in A controller. So in A controller it's check whether there is some on method, there is some method there is some event that is handled which is seeking for that emit event. So if it will find, it will execute that, and it will give us an output, and we will use that accordingly. So it follows bottom to top approach. Means here in B controller my emit is there, so it will start looking for $on by going upward, not downward. So it will go looking for the $on in upward manner. So it will check in in controller A, and if there are some other controller above the A controller, it will also go to there, and if there will be no controller, it will stop, it will not go downward. So this is what happens in $emit. So suppose I have only one controller and I am using $emit, and inside that I have another controller, that is controller B. So in this case I have only two controller A and controller B, and I am raising emit inside A controller. So what it will do, it will not go in controller B, it will simply exit from controller A. So it will not go in B controller. So why this so? Because it follows bottom to top approach. It checks the registered whether the event is registered in which controller, and it checks that in bottom to top approach. So this is all about emit, $emit. How does it work and how to use that? So let's move to $broadcast. So what is $broadcast? You could say $broadcast is exactly opposite of $emit. It follows top to bottom approach. Means I am in controller A, and then I made a controller inside A, and that is controller B, and then controller C. So my controller sequence is A, B, C. So I am defining broadcast inside controller A. So what will happen whenever I am writing $broadcast and my event name, that function, and I will handle that event by $on inside my B controller, and not suppose in C controller I have not handled. So what it will do, it will look for the controller whether it will check that whether there is $on or not inside its immediate child controller. So if I am in A, it will check in B controller whether if it is there, it will execute, it will perform, and it will give you output. And again it will check in C. If it is there, it will perform, it will give you output. And suppose it is not there in B or in C, so it will simply exit from there only. Suppose I am writing in C. In C I am using broadcast. So I told you that we have three controller A, B, C, and in C I am using $broadcast. So what it will do? It will not check by going to $B in controller B and in controller A, because it follows top to bottom approach. So inside C it will check whether the next to C element there is next any controller beneath the C controller, inside the C controller. If there is not, it will not execute, it will not perform. Why? Because it follows top to bottom approach. So once we write broadcast, whenever inside any controller, so it will start executing from that scope part of that broadcast. So it will check that event name, and it will find the accordingly event wherever it is handled, whether it is inside C or inside A. But remember that it always follows top to bottom approach. So in this manner, broadcast, emit, and $on, these three are related to each other. It would be more clearer to you once you will see a complete program containing all of these, and then only you can have a clear idea of what is $broadcast, $emit, and $on. One another thing is that what we have done right now so far yet is we are using on scope level. As I have told you earlier that it is handled in two levels, right? One is in scope level, another is in root scope level. So this is handled in scope level. So when the things are handled in scope level, these are the scenarios what happens. And when I am performing these things in root scope level, suppose I am using root scope in my controller, and I am using broadcast or emits. So what it will do? Then at that case only, whenever you will use root scope, on that case only, it will forget about that it has to check, it has to follow bottom to top approach or top to bottom approach. Broadcast means what? It simply checks, it will broadcast everywhere that message whenever you will use root scope. So root scope, as I have already told you, that its scope is throughout the application. Wherever in any controller you can access that variable whenever you are using root scope. So this is the reason why when you are using root scope with that broadcast or that $emit, so it will check in every controller. It will see that in controller B or in controller C or in outside any controller there is whether it is handled or not. If that event is handled, it will do that their job, and it will give you the output. So whenever you use root scope, make sure that it is going to execute everywhere, whether in child controller or in parent controller or in some isolated controller. Whenever you are using root scope, then it will perform everywhere. So we have seen that events in detail. To somehow hope you got it, you understand what I mean to say. And in our next session, we will see how to perform event emit example in AngularJS.